What up, fam? You are listening to Drop It Like It's Doc podcast. I am your host, Dr. De Luna. I am your favorite spicy doctor, educator, and yogi. Today, we are going to take a deep dive into what is in yo gut. So a lot of what I do in my practice is focusing on gut health. And every time I chat with someone about their gut, it is quite clear to me that a lot of us never learned a lot of this information. So I think it's quite important that you understand how you actually digest and absorb your food because, it's kind of on the collective here that a lot of health conditions and just different symptoms and signs that we experience in our body can be starting in our gut. So we are going to start from the top so that you understand what you can do to not only help heal your gut, but to change your entire physiology and your health. So before we can even talk about any of your digestive organs, we have to talk about your nervous system because your nervous system is actually what is controlling a lot of what's going on inside of your beautiful body. So digestion actually begins with just the thought of food. It's called the cephalic phase of digestion, meaning that we have to think about our food. However, before we even get to the part that we're thinking and getting ready to eat, we have to make sure that our nervous system is even in a state that it is prepared to consume food. Because let's be real, fam, a lot of us are fucking stressed. Very stressed. What happens when you're stressed? For me, when I'm stressed, it feels like there's a lovely little ball right here in my stomach. Does that little ball want food? No, it does not. So we have so many different arms to our nervous system. Some we have active control over, like me, using my hands like a wild Italian. Some other people, just kidding, some other people, we all have this. The other part of our nervous system is called the autonomic nervous system, in which it's supposed to be automatic, right? We're not necessarily thinking about it. I will say in some future episodes, we are going to talk about how yogis have cracked the code as to how to navigate the autonomic nervous system. So make sure you're subscribed to this page. But as far as what we're going to be chatting about today, the autonomic nervous system are typically things that we are not actively monitoring because they're going on inside of our body. You don't have to think about your heart beating right now, do you? I hope not. It's highly concerning. You don't have to think about yourself breathing right now. It's going to happen. Your brainstem is going to make it happen. And all of these things are happening in the autonomic nervous system, which is still a part of your nervous system, but it is helping control things behind the scenes. Two different flavors for the most part of the autonomic nervous system. We have the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. Sympathetic is all about fight or flight. You're freaking out a little bit. Truly, honey bunnies, a lot of us exist in this state. How to know if you're existing in a sympathetic nervous system state? I would be able to tell as your doctor. But you looking, have you ever seen someone that just did a line of Coke? Just curious, have you? Because that is what I want you to imagine that the sympathetic nervous system is. Pupils, giganto beans in the eyes. That is because the sympathetic nervous system is allowing you to take in more information. Your pupils get wider. You might also get a dry mouth. Dry mouth, not great for digesting, right? We'll get there soon. You might get a dry mouth. You might feel your heart beating in your chest. You might feel like it's difficult to breathe. You might feel sweaty. And really, you might get cold. The reason why you might get cold or feel like your hands or your feet are tingling and numb is because when you are in the sympathetic state, your blood vessels constrict. They constrict in a very, very wise fashion so that your blood can go to your big muscle groups, your shoulders and your hips, so that if you had to run away from a predator, you could. If you had to elbow someone in the jaw, you could. If you had to knee them in the balls, you could. All because of your sympathetic nervous system. Where's the blood not? It's not in your head, so that's good. It's not in your brain. Wonderful. And it's also not in your gut. Everything that your body needs to thrive is in your gut. So there are so many aspects to our nervous system and to digestion that is hormonally based, and hormones are released in the blood. They travel systemically and then tell cells what to do. So if your blood is not in your gut, if it is in your shoulders and your hips, yeah, you could probably have a pretty solid workout perhaps, but you are not going to be digesting your food. So first and foremost, for a happy gut, we need to kind of flip the switch a little bit so that you are in the parasympathetic state. This is the rest, digest, chill state of being. For the parasympathetic nervous system, the opposite would happen. So instead of imagining someone who just did a line of Coke, imagine someone that just took a lovely opiate. What are they doing? Their pupils are small. They are slow. They are calm. And I'm using these as examples, right? Just to exaggerate these pictures in your mind because a lot of this is pretty sciencey and you might not be able to grasp it quite. But parasympathetic, just think ooey, gooey, saliva-rich baby. You know those babies that are just like full of boogers and drool and goo goo gagas? Like that is all just baby parasympathetic goo. And we need that. So if you are in the parasympathetic nervous system, your body's ready. Your body is ready for it all. So as you are thinking about food or what you want for dinner or whatever it is that your cute little brain is thinking about, your body is getting ready. So your stomach starts working, your mouth starts working, your intestines start moving, but really we're going to start from the top and go down. So we're starting with the head. As you think about this food, your brain is communicating to your gut that something is going to go in your mouth. And if something's going to go in your mouth, there better be saliva in there ready to break it down. I cannot even tell you how many people don't chew their food. I used to definitely not chew my food. It was aggressive growing up in my house. Let me just tell you, I grew up with a very hungry father and a brother that was basically an Olympian. Food went exquisitely fast in my house. So for me to be like, oh, Ashley, you're going to eat, I would have to really manja it down. Just manja. You don't digest your food in that way. So first you gotta chew. You gotta chew, you gotta be ready. If your mind is going to what you have to do later at work, your boss's email, to a stress, to anything at all, know that your nervous system is not going to be in a place to digest, absorb your food. It's not gonna feel well in your body. So as you're mentally showing up, you are physiologically showing up. So when I am educating my humans on how to have a healthy gut, I say, what are you doing around mealtime? Are you texting? Are you scrolling? Are you thinking about all the things that you need to do after? You need to be there. You need to be almost thinking that you're meditating while you're eating. You want to taste each bite. You want to smell the aroma. You want to chew so well that if you were to open your mouth and look at it, you would be like, what is that in there? I have no idea what that is. You would know the pigment, of course, right? But like outside of that, you don't know what's in your mouth. So you got to chew. And you'll notice that saliva actually is helping you break down your food. So if you are in a stress state, you have that mouth dry feeling, you're already not going to be in a space that you're breaking down your food because we have something called salivary amylase, which is helping us break down these carbohydrates in our food, these big molecules, because our gut, to absorb anything, they have to be in very small molecules. And your food is not that small, right? Especially those of you that don't chew. It's quite large. So here we are. We're still in the mouth. We're still in there. You have so many salivary glands. You have teeth. You have teeth to chew, to masticate. And then you swallow the food. The bolus of food goes down your esophagus to your tummy. Your esophagus is essentially just a tube of muscle. And the movement of food or anything that you swallow throughout your body is called peristalsis. And it is a type of muscle that the autonomic nervous system is controlling. So pushes things down, kind of in these little wave-like motions, pushes it on down, and then you hit a sphincter. It's my favorite word of the day, by the way. Sphincter. Sphincter, circular muscle that contracts and opens. So we want it to be open when we want the food to go from the esophagus into the stomach, yes. And we want it closed when we don't want the food to come back up. Many people, remember, comes down to the parasympathetic nervous system, right? If they're freaking out about something that they have to do after they eat, that sphincter might not close all the way. So then while your stomach is starting to break down your food with all this stomach acid, all these enzymes to break it down, that can come back up if that is not closed. And that could be because your body doesn't even think that there's food in there. Truly, your nervous system is trying to figure out what's up all the time. And your thoughts are really powerful. I want to remind you that your thoughts are exquisitely powerful. Your body is listening to everything. That muscle is not closed, it's going to come right back up. You know what else is interesting? This is a just fun little truth bomb for ya, is that so many people are like, oh, I have acid burning in my tummy. This is how I imitate you, by the way. This is how you sound in my head. Oh, my tummy burns, and sometimes it comes up. What am I going to do? I'm going to get some Prilosec over the counter. Everyone takes it. Prilosec is a PPI, proton pump inhibitor. These drugs are truly over the counter. You could walk into any store and get it. Would I? Please don't fucking get it. Why? Because all it's doing is telling the cells in your stomach to not make acid. Why would we do that? We just tried so hard to get your nervous system into a space that it is producing this juicy acid to break down your protein. We need protein. That acid is also helping you break down other molecules, absorb certain vitamins. The list goes on and on and on. But when you take one of those medications, what happens is that you are shutting down your own physiology. You're telling your stomach to not make that stomach acid. And while you won't feel the burning, you are no longer going to digest your food, and you are going to get severely mineral deficient, severely. Let me also say that your body is so smart that when we think that we know better than the body, we usually just kind of make a big soup of confusion physiologically. And when that happens, if we are messing with what's going on in the stomach, your stomach is so acidic for a reason. If we throw that balance off, now we just created a beautiful environment for things to grow there that should not grow there. So you can have maldigestion starting in the stomach. You could be burping up a whole bunch of stuff. You can be making gas. And again, if that acid is going up, it's usually because that sphincter is not closed, which can be from your nervous system, not thinking that you're in a space to eat. But another fun fact, that acid is creating a chemical signal to the sphincter. It's creating a chemical signal to the sphincter to tell it to close. So all of you taking PPIs, again, I'm not your doctor, can't tell you what to do, but what would I do? I'd probably never take it again. Just saying. So that's the Tummkins. So that sphincter should be closed. Things are churning in the stomach. It's truly a muscle. It churns it up. And because it's so acidic in there, it releases the food slowly into the next part of the body, which is the small intestine. The duodenum, another fun word. I'm not making these words up. I'm making them up. Duodenum. The first part of the small intestine. This is where very acidic food from the stomach is released. So there has to be some balancing there, right? So the body is also making bicarbonate, which is an acid-base balancer so that that food is not scarring the lining of your small intestine. That's also where bile from your liver and your gallbladder are released. And it's also where pancreatic enzymes are released. So this is a really, 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 really important place of digestion. And if anything is up in that area, everything else down the line is going to be an issue. And truly, I could say that about everything we've already talked about. If you didn't think about your food and you didn't have the salivary amylase, your saliva, your stomach acid, things are still going to be an issue, right? But I'm just going to kind of keep us going as we're going. So this is where we have a brush border. A brush border is what we call a layer of the intestines that are loaded with digestive enzymes. So they're just sitting there. They're sitting on that border. And as the food goes by, it breaks it down. It chooses what it's going to absorb and what is going to pass along. And remember, this is also where the bile is entering. This is also where all the pancreatic enzymes are entering. So it is a very, 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 very critical part of breaking down your food and absorbing it. It's also a very, very common place for things to be a little bit off. So I do not eat gluten. I will have a whole episode on gluten. I actually can't wait to talk about it. So make sure that you're subscribed to this so that you can listen up. But for people that react to gluten, even if you don't have full-blown celiac disease, if you react to gluten, something that it can do is it can start to break down this brush border. It can actually blunt the lining of your gut because there in this lining of the gut, it kind of looks like little fingers. Truly, it's a single layer of cells. And if you look this up, Google it. You can Google it. And you can see the single layer of cells that looks like little fingies. And along each little fingy is a single layer of cells. This single layer of cells is where that digestion, the absorption is happening. And if that single layer is broken down, nothing's going to work the way that it should. If you are someone that eats gluten and your body doesn't like gluten, this could happen with a number of things. I'm just speaking to that because it's the most common for me. Then nothing else is going to work. If you are eating gluten, your body doesn't like it, it has actually been shown to blunt, which means it's going to break down that lining. What happens if you don't digest or absorb a lot of your food? Good old diarrhea. Just going to pass on through quite quickly. Your body is going to flush it out. And there's so many other signs of malabsorption, maldigestion that we're going to talk about as we continue through. But I want to highlight a little bit about the other two organs that are helping your body digest food at this meeting point. Your sweet little pancreas. The sweet pancreas. It does so much. Take a moment and thank your pancreas for all that it does. It is very sensitive to all sorts of environmental triggers. It is what is managing your blood sugar so that you don't feel fucking crazy all the time. And it's also helping you digest your food. So the pancreas, we need it. We really don't want to lose it. Let's just put it that way. This pancreas is releasing into the same part that bile is releasing because they're both helping you to absorb different parts of your beautiful, nutritious diet that I hope you are eating. Bile is made in the liver. Your liver, I'm going to say this almost every episode because some of you don't love your liver. Your liver literally has the word live in it. It's not like you're just going to be able to drink yourself into an oblivion every day and then stay healthy. You are going to kill your liver. So we need this organ. We really do. It sits right here, right side below your rib cage. If you ever have pain over here, by the way, please tell someone about it. Go take a look. You want to keep that guy intact for as long as you can. So the liver, not only is it helping you kind of clean your blood, detoxify, I feel like that's what most people kind of associate the liver with. It is also helping you to absorb and emulsify your fats. Liver is making bile. Have you ever, drank so much that you vomit up green stuff that tastes like battery acid? I have. That's bile. Tastes great. Tastes really good. I'll never forget. Anyway, this beautiful green fluid is helping you to break down your fats to emulsify them. So it's really important for soaking up different fat-soluble vitamins, for helping to clear out fat-soluble toxins. And again, it's in this meeting point where it's all happening. So we're still in the duodenum, babes. We haven't moved past it. A lot of things can show up in the gallbladder. Again, please keep your gallbladder. It's not by chance that you have one. It's really not. If you get your gallbladder taken out, know that, first of all, it's okay. You're going to be fine. You are totally going to be fine. But if you remove your gallbladder, it's really just a little pocket. It's a little pocket to collect bile. So you're not going to have that big release of bile at once. So you're probably going to have an issue eating fat. So if you are someone that when you eat a big fatty meal, you don't feel well or it's painful or you notice, even more down the line, if you see what's coming down the toilet bowl, that it looks like someone poured oil on the top of it, that is truly undigested, unabsorbed fat. And that could be because your gallbladder isn't releasing a big amount of bile at once, just doing little drips, little drips, little drips. Of course, there's things that we can do for that, but I think it's important for you to know that your gallbladder is actually doing something quite important in there. And if you were told that you have to get your gallbladder out because there's stones in there, just know that you can drain the stones out. You could drain them out and keep your gallbladder. Okay, that's all I'll say about that. You could tell that I have an emotional attachment to my gallbladder. I'm going to keep her. I'm going to keep her forever. So that was just the first part of the small intestine. As you move down the small intestine, it is so long and it's kind of wrapped around the center of your gut. So also, if you ever feel different sensations in your abdomen, usually they are associated with the organ that is underlying. And the small intestine is huge. It is so big. And it's kind of in the center around your belly button on both sides as well. So food is just moving through. It's breaking down. It's being absorbed. Hopefully, because not only is that inflammation influencing the duodenum, remember, first part of the small intestine, it can influence anywhere on the digestive tract. And I will say, you're going to get truth bombs all throughout this talk today because there's just so many truth bombs to drop about the gut. If you are eating conventional food, I know, you're going to be like, she's telling me to only eat organic. Does she not understand? I do understand, but do you not understand that our government is putting poison in our food? Poison is poison. There's no way to say that this poison is safe. It's literally poison. Most of what is in our food is not fucking legal in other parts of the world. You can feel my passion because it's nano-key. Anywho, so this poison, your gut doesn't like poison. We didn't evolve with poison. You have so many immune cells in your gut. You have so many checkpoints in your body to say, should this be there or should this not be there? And I don't know if you've ever thought about this, but your whole digestive system from your mouth all the way out to the pooper is one tube. It's one tube. It really is. And it's your body's way of saying, do we want to integrate this in? Because that's the outside world. It is. Isn't that a trip to think about? You're like an inside out balloon. One track of the outside world going through your whole system. And it's that single layer of cells that says, do I want to integrate this into my body? Your body will integrate the poison. It will. It's going to absorb it. But what else will that poison do? It's going to really compromise that single layer of cells so that the rest of your digestion isn't as healthy. And right below that single layer of cells is your immune system just waiting to pounce. And this is why inflammation in the gut can lead to inflammation everywhere. So I'm sure a lot of people have heard about leaky gut, right? That's kind of something that's pretty pretty on the collective consciousness right now. And so many people come to me and be like, I have leaky gut, and they'll say it like it's a diagnosis. Leaky gut isn't necessarily a diagnosis. It's just telling me functionally what's going on in your body. And leaky gut is truly just the name for the systemic inflammation and the symptoms that you get when your intestines or any part of your digestive system is inflamed. And this to me is very similar to IBS, because IBS is irritable bowel syndrome. So many of you are probably watching this being like, I have IBS. You don't have IBS, honey. You just have an inflamed gut. And there's a reason why you have an inflamed gut. You're not just going to say that you have IBS for the rest of your life. And if you think you are, please come see me. I would love to help you figure out what's going on in your gut. So leaky gut can show up not only from different poisons in our food, show up with different pharmaceuticals. They're very hard on the gut. If you were just popping aspirin or Tylenol, know that Tylenol is destroying your liver. It really is. It's funny because you take Tylenol for a hangover because you feel so bad and you just gill in your livies. Aspirin is also really hard on the stomach. So just be mindful that truly anything that you put in your mouth in this single tube has the choice to either help you or hurt you. The choice is yours because we have free will. It could be the foods that are causing it. It could be drugs that are causing it. Stress. Why? Why does stress cause leaky gut? Let's go back to the beginning. So if you are in a stress state, you are in a sympathetic state. So remember, there's no blood in your tummies. Have you ever been so cold that your nose is cold? Or have you ever been so stressed that you're like, oh, my nose is freezing? I have. That's a sign that truly all the little blood vessels are constricted. And they're just in these big muscle groups. When you're stressed, that's what's going on. I just also want you to pause and recognize for a second what your stress is doing to your body. Because that is one of the most powerful things that you could do is work on your stress. Truly, that's where this whole conversation started. So if you are someone that is consistently in a stress response, whether that is based on your lifestyle, from the way that you eat, from a relationship, whatever it is, that can take the blood flow away from your gut and it can break down that single layer of cells so that you have leaky gut. When that single layer of cells breaks apart, you have big gaps. When you have big gaps, the single layer of cells is usually pretty selective. It is very precise about what it's inviting into your body, right? Because we are divine. We don't want poison. We don't want big molecules. We don't want critters. We don't want infectious organisms. But that single layer of cells starts to open up. It's a free-for-all. You know Red Rover, that game that we used to play when we were little? Someone broke through. And then everything can wash through. Everything can wash through. Huge food particles can get into your bloodstream. Critters can get into your bloodstream. Poison can get into your bloodstream. See where I'm going with this? And your immune system is so smart. It is consistently monitoring what is in your blood so that it can say, should this be here or should we mount an immune response? Do we have to send down an army to clear it out? And let me tell you that your immune system doesn't like big plants, doesn't like big proteins, doesn't like big pieces of fat, because your body knows what they should look like in your blood. However, if they are larger, your body is going to see it as an invader and cause an immune response to it. This can mean that you can react to foods that you're not actually reactive to just because they're in your bloodstream. So that's going to be a whole talk for a whole nother day. But this is all kind of compromising your systemic inflammation. So this is why things like inflammation in your gut can lead to headaches. This is why inflammation in your gut can lead to acne. This is why inflammation in your gut can completely change every single cellular function because of this kind of opening of the gateway picture. And if organisms are getting into your bloodstream that should be in your gut, your immune system really doesn't like that. And then they can go everywhere. Know that your stomach also, just going back to that stomach acid is trying to control microbial growth along the whole upper gut. So there's only a certain amount of bacteria and certain types of organisms that can survive in these very unique microclimates. And each part of your digestive system has a very unique microclimate. But if something above isn't working well, if something below is falling short, then that microenvironment can change. What can grow in that environment can change. What can be digested and absorbed can fully switch. So just something to keep in mind. We're still in the duodenum. Wow, we're still in there. Let's move down a little bit. So as we move through the small intestine, your body is breaking down and trying to absorb food. It should be in these little molecules, right? That's what we just discussed. Because proteins are big molecules. They should be broken down into amino acids. Those are the building blocks. Big branches of sugars and starches should be broken down into single sugars. Same with fat. They should be broken down as well and emulsified, absorbed. If we are not having that happen, what can happen is that there's food There is undigested food in the small intestine. And remember that word sphincter? I hope you never forget it. Hope you share it at your next party. But sphincter, there's a sphincter. At the end of the small intestine, before you get to the large intestine, it is in the ileum, the terminal ileum. But let me just share, before we get to the ileum, we hit the jejunum. Another phenomenal word. Come on. Who made this shit up? I love it. So we go through the jejunum to get to the ileum. The ileum should be sterile. I do that in quotation marks because it's not. It is not sterile. Because right after the ileum is the colon, the cecum. You know that appendix that you have that you were told you don't need? It's very helpful. It's also a very helpful organ. It might blow your mind to think that the things inside of you are actually, important, but they're important. They are. So this appendix is right at the entrance of where the small intestine attaches to the large intestine. What's in the middle? Sphincter. So that sphincter, if it opens up at all because of what? Stress, toxins, some mechanical issue, constipation can also build up so much pressure in your colon that it opens up the sphincter between the small intestine and the large intestine. So then the bacteria, because the colon is not sterile, we don't want it to be sterile. We need all those organisms in there. But if the sphincter opens, they can move. They can travel from the small intestine from the large intestine to the small intestine. When they're in the small intestine, remember, that's where all your food should be breaking down. If it's not broken down, you are feeding these bacteria with a fucking feast. They are so excited. They are going to keep on crawling on up to get to the food because the food is higher up in the gut, right? So if you eat something and then bloat up like a cute little balloon, that is because you have just successfully fed your microbes because you didn't digest and absorb your food. So they are going to, for you, they are going to make lots of gas, lots of gas. Know that you can also get really burpy. This is just another fun fact that I'm going to throw in here. You can also get really burpy, not just from that process, which would be something like SIBO, right? Small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. But if you are someone that is really anxious and if you hold your breath, know that you're throwing off your pH balance. Your body, again, is so smart that your body will then change the acid that it makes to make more base, which can feel like carbon dioxide, which means that you are going to burp out more gas because your body is truly trying to titrate and meet your blood in a healthy place so that you don't feel crazy because your blood has a lot of electrolytes in it, a lot of chemicals that are telling your nervous system if it's safe or not safe. So that's just a little fun fact. We'll talk about holding your breath and making yourself pass out in another episode. Whew. So if you've been told that you have SIBO, know that it could be because your cute little sphincter is open. You got to close it. And now these organisms have moved up because the colon is where they should live. We want them there. Know that bacteria in general kind of have a bad rep in that we think that they're bad, that this bacteria causes this disease, but that is looking more so at a model that is outdated. Now science is kind of collectively moving in the direction of what is the environment? Why is the environment allowing this organism to grow, which when it grows in a certain amount can cause this symptom picture? So I don't want you to think that the bacteria in your gut are bad. They are phenomenally helpful. They're helping you break down your food. They're helping you make certain vitamins like vitamin K and different B vitamins. They're helping make short chain fatty acids that are literally like a band-aid of goo for your entire colon. So if you don't have the right bacterial balance in your colon, you can also have leaky gut because they are helping to strengthen the arms of Red Rover. That's the single layer of cells, right? If you are like way too young to know what Red Rover is, I'm sorry, your childhood is just way different than mine was. But these bacteria are needed there. And when they move out of the place that they should be, things can feel a little bit weird. So keeping them where we need to be is essential. And there's lots of different things that you can do to help your entire digestive system work a little bit better. And I'm going to start from the very top again. We need to make sure that your nervous system is in a place that it can digest, absorb, eliminate. Because if your digestive system is turned off, not only are you not breaking down and absorbing your food, but things aren't moving because it's a layer of muscle that is pushing things along. It is a layer of smooth muscle. And this is skeletal muscle. These guns, this is skeletal muscle right here. I just thought that I wanted to show off my gun to you, and I did. However, you don't have to think about contracting the smooth muscle. It's innervated by the autonomic nervous system. A tremendous part of it is innervated by the vagus nerve. You all know that I love the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve lives in your brainstem, and it has little arms that truly kiss and touch every part of your digestive system, for the most part, that I've talked about so far. So it's telling your tongue to move. It's telling your digestive system in your mouth to start to make saliva through your salivary glands. It's telling your esophagus to move. It's closing and opening the sphincters in a beautiful timing. It's releasing the contents of your stomach out into the small intestine. It's releasing all these different enzymes in the way that it needs and truly moving things down. So if you are not in a nervous system state that can happen, nothing is going to work well. And if you are someone that is very constipated, know that it could be because you are always in a sympathetic state and your body is kind of in a tension clenching mode. So we want to calm that down. And again, lots of things that we could do. Vagal nerve exercises are phenomenal for this. So things to activate the vagus nerve or anything that turn that nerve on, and it lives in the brainstem. A lot of it lives in the throat. Humming, singing, gargling. Everyone loves this. Gagging. Truly though, it works. Have you ever brushed the back of your tongue and then felt yourself and then your eyes water? Guess what? Your whole digestive system just released enzymes and moved things down. So that is great. You can also cold plunge, deep belly breathing. Your diaphragm is a huge part of this. So that is essential. Also, something that's important to keep in mind is that your nervous system in your gut is creating something called the migrating motor complex, which is essentially like this big broom. That's what I truly envision it as. It's like these cute little, I don't know, like janitor coming through with a broom and sweeping things down. Janitor can't come. He cannot come if you are constantly eating all day. If you're just pick all day long because it's fun and you do that to distract yourself from reality, that's okay. However, know that things are not moving along. So it could feel like things are stagnant in your gut because your gut wants this time to process what's in there. We put a lot of shit in our mouths and not a lot of shit comes out for a lot of us. So you have to give yourself the time to break down, absorb, and move things along. So if you're not doing that, if you're eating on the go, if you're just consistently snacking all day, it's not going to happen for you. It's just not. Some other things that go on in the colon, because I forgot to mention this. If you watch my poof video, you know what I'm about to say. This is where you're absorbing most of the water. So the consistency of what's coming out of you tells you a lot about what's going on in your colon. And your colon creates this big circle around the perimeter of your gut. So it actually starts in the right lower quadrant, which is where that sphincter is. Comes up the right side, over, down, and around. A big circle. And at the bottom, that's where you poopala. Yes, that means poop. In case you didn't know, poopala. So if food is sitting in your colon for too long, because that's where water absorption is happening, you're going to absorb it, absorb it, absorb it. That poop is going to feel like glass passing out of you. That is not fun. That is not fun. Please know that if you're constipated, step one is just please drink water. Like that's a great place to start. Who's to say? However, if things are moving exquisitely fast, your colon is not going to have time to absorb the water. So it is going to move quickly and it's going to be loose. Also know that you can learn a lot about your gut by looking at your poops, because if you're seeing a lot of undigested food, think about everything that we just talked about. It could have happened because you didn't chew your food. It could have happened because you didn't think about your food, smell your food. It could have happened because your stomach didn't break it down. Your duodenum didn't release what it needed to. You know, we could truly go up or down either of these ways, but I want you to start to look at that stuff. So I hope that this talk kind of helped you understand a bit about how important your digestive system is, because there are so many ways that this inflammation from maldigestion can show up. Healing really does begin in the gut. And I know on my own journey, I was someone that did not have good digestion my entire life. I was born and raised in New York. I was born and raised on a standard American diet. I really just ate bread and American cheese and like fried food for most of my life. I'm not kidding at all. My grandma would, this sweet woman, Jean, she would have to bribe me with money to eat. What is wrong with me? My friends know that they don't have to bribe me to eat anymore. It's kind of the opposite end of the issue. However, I didn't have a happy gut for most of my life. And it wasn't until I started paying attention to these subtle things that my whole life changed. I used to have consistent stomach pain all the time. I would have sometimes constipation, sometimes diarrhea. I'm a small human. Those of you that don't know me, I'm small. I'm like 110 pounds. I'm 5'2". I would look pregos, so pregos. There is one girl from my childhood that I hope you're watching this. I'm not going to say your name, but I'm still traumatized by what you told me about my tummy when I was jumping on a trampoline about what it looked like. still traumatized, and I hope that you're watching this and that you don't do that to your children's friends because it's quite evil. Because you can't help it if your tummy's bloated. Don't tell me I look pregnant. I'm just little kiddos. There was no baby in there. I was bloated and uncomfortable, okay? Then she made jokes that I probably had a parasite. Joke's on you because I did, okay? So anyway, your sweet little tummy can tell you so much. If you are bloated, you're not digesting your food. You can have an off microbiome. You could be not absorbing something that you're eating and it's flushing things out on the other end. For me, other things that would show up was I had really bad acne growing up, and it's probably because of all the inflammation in my gut. I also started getting migraines because not only was I on birth control because I wanted to be, because I thought it was cool, but I just had so much inflammation in my gut. And know that there's also certain microbes in your gut that are helping you biotransform hormones. Something that I didn't even briefly mention though, is that this chemical communication between your nervous system and your gut is also happening hormonally. So different hormonal problems can show up in your gut. It really does not end. There is no start and end to the gut and how it can touch every other part of your body. Something else that I would experience all the time was a lot of mental health stuff, because if your gut is inflamed, and it doesn't have to feel like, ooh, painful inflammation. It could just feel a little off. You can feel like things are churning in there. You could feel bloated, uncomfortable, gassy. It doesn't have to be super dramatic. It could be pretty subtle. But if your gut is inflamed, what will happen is that all those inflammatory chemicals, cytokines, mediators that are in your gut, they're going to go through that single layer of cells, go systemically. And depression, from a chemical standpoint, is actually inflammation in the brain. So we're going to also talk a lot about that because there's a lot of things that can make your brain inflamed. But this is why your diet goes hand in hand with mental health. Because if you're eating certain foods, or if you're eating in a way that is causing stress in your digestive system, that inflammation will travel everywhere in your body. It'll make every symptom that you've ever felt feel loud, because that's what inflammation does. It makes your immune system see things. So that could absolutely be a part of your mental health. It could absolutely be a part of your anxiety. But I do see it a lot with depression, and it definitely showed up in my picture. So I think it's important for you to consider that it could be part of yours as well. And your sweet, sweet gut really does want to digest and absorb food. It's just you have to show up for yourself. So I didn't heal my gut in a day. I didn't heal it in a year. And honestly, when I was vegan, I probably had the most unhealthy gut in my life because it's very hard to digest raw food. It's so funny as I close my eyes, just reflecting on where I've been with my digestive health, because my gut is so happy now, and I eat in a way that is completely unique to my body. And I did not thrive on a raw vegan diet. I don't know many people that do, but raw food is much more difficult to digest than cooked. So you need a lot more digestive enzymes to do it. So I would highly recommend, if you're just starting this gut health journey, of course, as I'm going to keep reminding you, you have to start with your nervous system. You have to get yourself into a parasympathetic state. You have to tell your body you're ready to eat. But eating cooked food is going to be a little bit easier for you because it's already almost kind of digested, right? You can even eat goulash. What is goulash? I mean, soup. Smoosh. I love moosh because moosh is already digested a little bit. Any kind of moosh that you like. Put veggies in it, put meat in it, whatever you want. Know that herbs and spices, I just salivated. Know that herbs and spices, they are helping you digest and absorb your food. So spice up your life. Add it to everything. That's why different aperitifs and different digestives work. And it's truly because the herbs in it. Herbs are so powerful. They want your gut to heal. It also helps to create a happy microbial balance in your food so that, you know, you're not eating parasites, which we'll talk about in the future. Parasites are weird. They hang out everywhere. Other things for your gut, of course, there's a myriad of supplements and things that you can take, and I would be happy to guide anyone through it. But truly, if you're listening to this, like my stepdad, Matt, I love you so much. But if you are listening to this and being like, oh, why does my gut hurt? And then you really just eat not well, foods that cause inflammation. Let me just put it this way. If I was to wake up in the morning to go to McDonald's, to eat anything from there, and then eat what a standard American feels, I would feel terrible. My gut would be so unwell. So if you are listening to this, please remind yourself the power that you have over your body, the power that you have over regulating your nervous system, but also the power that you have over your choices. Because what you put in your mouth is one of the most powerful tools that you have over either filling up your bucket of poison or helping your body have the building blocks that it needs to heal, to regenerate, to detoxify, to balance itself. And I wish that this earth was healthier, and that this earth and our, the politicians and whatever, the people that are controlling our food, I wish that they gave a fuck, but they don't, because they making money. That's what they're doing. Truth bomb. You don't believe me? I'm sorry. It is the truth. So if you want your sweet little guts to heal, you have to stop consuming poison. You do. And there's lots of tips that you can do to get cheap, organic, or even just local food. Chat with your farmer. Farmers love what they do. They are invested. They are connected to the land. They know how to balance the ecosystem so that they don't have to destroy their food with chemicals and pesticides, all these different things that can then enter your sweet body. So you do have a lot of power over this. And I really say this from my own heart space, in that when your gut is happy, your whole life will change. So if you learned nothing from today, other than it's important to smell your food, to chew your food, and to pause between snackies, I'm happy. But if I triggered you, know that it's probably because you know that you're contributing a little bit to this. So I invite you, the next time that you eat, especially if you're someone that has tummy issues, the next time that you eat, before you even sit down with your beautiful plate of food, think about it. Think about it to the point that you feel yourself salivating, that you feel maybe even your little tummy's getting warm, because that's a sign that you made some digestive enzymes and acid. And then sit down with your food, look at it for a moment, feel all of that build. Be there with the food. Eat one bite at a time. Even put your little forky down between bites. Chew so well that you taste every little flavor. And as that's happening, feel gratitude for that food. You are going to eat so slowly that you're going to annoy everyone else that you were with. But you know who you are not going to annoy? You are not going to annoy your gut. It's going to be so happy. From there, just notice how you feel at the end of that meal. Because I promise you, if you are someone that usually bloats when you eat, or someone that just doesn't feel well after they eat, it's going to be a very different experience. Another fun fact that I have to share because I forgot, water and food are not friends. Think about how hard your digestive system has to work to make these enzymes, these acids. They are concentrated and in very specific quantities and in concentrations. When you drink water with your food, know that you can dilute your stomach acid, and that alone can mess up everything else down the line. So I personally like to think of hydrating and eating as two separate events. So don't drink water while you eat. If you need to wash something down, I don't want any of you to choke. I do not want that, sweet friends. But I also want you to get the benefits of your sweet stomach acid. I could truly talk about the gut forever, because it was my first love. Healing my gut was my first love. And this tight tummy in yoga pants is so proud of how far she has come. So if you need support in healing your gut, know that I'm your girl. You definitely need to like this. You need to turn your notifications on, and you need to subscribe, because I'm going to be dropping so many episodes all on gut health, mental health, parasites, kind of touching a little bit of everything that we have so far, but you're going to want to see it right when it pops up. So notifications on, por favor. Thank you so much for listening today. I am so excited to dive even deeper into the gut. If you have questions, please put them on the comments below. I'm probably not going to read them, but I might, and I might find them entertaining. Who's to say? Make sure that you're following me on Instagram. Make sure that if you want to work on your gut health, that you reach out to me, because I don't know if you can tell, but I love working on gut health. Thank you, sweet friends.